Welcome back. Well, some of you may have saw our show just a little while ago, and if you know anything about me, I believe in excellence. And so that video was not done in excellence. So I decided to delete it, and I asked our guest if she would mind re-recording it. And so I'm very glad and happy that she had the bandwidth to do so. So we're going to start from the top. First, I want to introduce to some of you that I am Hilda M. Gradnigo. I am the founder and executive director of LuWish. LuWish is an organization, a 501c3, that grants wishes to women who are experiencing life-altering issues due to cancer, domestic violence, or heart disease. We seek to inspire women to keep moving in spite of. Our organization has been in existence for almost 2 years now, and we've had the blessed privilege of granting wishes to women's life, from turning their challenges into victories and their moments into memories. And so we've decided to start a community of care conversation because we feel like women are experiencing things that they've never experienced before. Just like any life-altering issue. It's not something we expect. It's not something we're looking for. Life just happens. And so we want to have some conversations about life and what's happening to you. I like to say life-altering issues are things that we didn't think about we'd have to deal with 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, and for all of us who are experienced this pandemic 2 months ago. But we find ourselves right in the midst of something that has totally altered our lives. And so we're going to have a series of conversations and provide resources to you, subject matter experts to you, on how to navigate through this life-altering issue called the pandemic. Last week, we brought you the subject of Homeschooling 101. If you have yet to see that, you can look at that live on Facebook at LuWish, on our LuWish page on Facebook. And this week, I am so excited to have with me Kellee Landry, who is a licensed professional counselor. I just have to say, I've known Kellee for a long while, and I've watched her grow into a wonderful mother, wife, entrepreneur, and also now board president of LuWish. Will you please help me welcome Kellee Landry? Kellee, thank you so much for joining our show today, which is called Mental Stability. Don't lose your mind, right?
Right.
We as women, I'm gonna give you a piece of my mind. Well, no. Everybody needs to hold on to as much mind as they possibly can, because we're gonna need it all to get through this, as they say, to get to the other side. So I'm so glad that you have joined our conversation today. Please tell those who are watching a little bit more about you and what you do.
Okay, so thank you for having me, because definitely this is my passion. So I am a wife and a mother. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I originally grew up in Louisiana. I went to Louisiana State University, where I got my undergrad in psychology. Then after graduation, I moved here to kind of just find out different things and just see what I wanted to do. So I ended up working for Children's Protective Services as a caseworker. Definitely eye-opener for my first job out of college. But there's when I decided I wanted to be a therapist. So I enrolled in graduate school at U of H, Clear Lake, got my master's in counseling. And over the years, I've just kind of worked different jobs. Worked for a hospice at one point. I worked at a psychiatric hospital. And I also worked for UT. I was a therapist for inmates, male inmates in Texas Department of Criminal Justice who were suffering from mental illness. So not only were they incarcerated, they were also suffering from some form of mental illness.
Wow.
And in 2012, stepped out on faith and opened PNL Counseling. And so that's what I've been doing pretty much ever since. I work with CPS kids and families, but I also just work with everyday families who are just kind of kids and parents who are just kind of going through life and just need some kind of support as they maneuver through.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to have you today, because I know right now everybody is experiencing mental strain. For those of us who probably thought we all had it together and life was just a beach and things were going well, abruptly, as I preached in my sermon this coming Sunday, we've all experienced a detour. This pandemic definitely a detour in our lives. It's definitely changed the direction and changed the trajectory of where we were going, where we thought we were going, and for some of us, where we have been dreaming of going.
Right.
There's a saying that we have at my corporate job that says, control the controllables. And for many of us, even the controllables seem to have gotten out of control, right? Our children were going to schools that we had picked. We had relationships with, we had expectations for as far as children. And now we find those children home with us, and parents who were living, independently. Now we may have moved into our homes, or because they were elderly and maybe ill, we've had to relocate them into our homes. We're sharing space with people that we don't share space with on a consistent basis. And for some of us, that's even our spouses, right? Because life just keeps us so busy that we're just passing each other in the day and the night. But now we find ourselves in the same space at the same time for a prolonged period of time. And that can add mental strain. It doesn't make you a bad person. Right. It's just life, and right now our emotions and our mental stability are being exercised, as I like to say. But in this world that we live in, talking about your struggles is not pretty. We don't deem that what you do, right? Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be super women, and how can I tell my girlfriend, or how can I tell my mom, or how can I tell my neighbor, I am overwhelmed. This has really filled my capacity to do, and I don't know what to do with everything that's overflowing that I'm responsible for. So while this situation or this pandemic is still with us, being resilient. We that word, right? We learn how to be resilient. As they say, this is not a race. It's not a race because we really don't know where the finish line is, right? We don't know when this is going to end. This is more of a walk. We're all on this walk together, hoping that the finish line will come in sight sooner than later. And so in being resilient, we have to be that calls for us to be flexible, and agile, I guess really is the word. So can you share some tips with us of how to be flexible, how to be agile, how to be resilient during this time when it comes to mental stability?
Okay, back to one of the things you said is about the controllables. Mm-hmm. So I usually say that's number one, is make a list of all of these things, because I think a lot of time they swerve in our head, but we need to put them down on paper. What's causing the stress? What's causing the anxiety? And then look at that list, and I usually tell my clients, next to each thing, ask yourself, can I control this? If you cannot control it, put an X by it. If you can, put a check. So then once you've done that, you've gone through all of these stressors, then you go back and say, okay, the things that are out of my control, I'm going to give to God. Whatever your higher power is going to be, because there's no use in wasting that precious time on that. And for most of us, stress is focusing on things out of our control.
Exactly.
So once those are off our plate, then it's okay. So now let's make a plan for the things that are stressing me, but I still have some control. So example would be grocery money short $50 this month, for some people. Okay, I have it, but I don't have enough, being that my kids are home all day, every day now. So then I may tell parents, okay, well, we may have to do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches this night, or maybe a ham sandwich this night. So we kind of develop a plan and kind of help them through that. And then kind of like you said, because we want to be super women. So we feel like you said, who do we go and say, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed. So I tell people all the time, you should have that one person. And if you don't, then maybe reevaluate some things. But if you have your therapist, that person should be that person that you can say anything to. Be flexible, like you said. This is something that we haven't seen. I haven't seen in my time. So being flexible and open-minded. Most of us are planners. If we're moms and wives and working women, we have a schedule. And this is not fitting into our schedule. So you've got to be flexible with that. Another thing I would say is take care of yourself. When we hear self-care, and kind of exactly how you said, or depending who we're talking to, people will sometimes say, I don't have time for that. You're in my day, I took care of my kids, I took care of my husband. I didn't have time to worry about me. And I'm like, well, that's not what we want to do in today's day. We have to figure out how do we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our kids, so we can take care of our husbands, our parents, people that need us. So whatever that may look like, everybody's different. Some people like to exercise. Some people like to journal. Some like spas and massages and time with their girlfriends. And we laugh because those aren't options right now. So we have to be creative. So it may be even a Friday night Zoom with your girlfriends, just so you can be yourself. So those are, I would say, the most important things. And then also to remember, this is temporary.
Yeah,
this is temporary. We don't know how temporary it is, but we know that it's temporary. And don't strive for perfection. Do the best that you can do.
Say that one more time.
Do not strive for perfection. Do the best that you can do. Because personally, I feel we are our worst critics. The things that we are beating ourselves up about as women, nobody else sees. Our husbands don't see that. Our children don't see that. So give yourself some slack. And just kind of know, this is a storm. I tell my clients a lot of times, we all have storms in life. Yes. Things that we're going through. We're either out of the storm, we're in the storm, or we're about to approach it. Right now, we're in one. So, but we know we're going to come out of this. We just have to make sure that when we come out, we're all mentally healthy at that point. So those are the tips I would say for that part.
Awesome. I say that all the time as I talk to people, no matter who, as my congregation calls or friends call, is look, hey, you want to come out of this better than you went in. So
right.
I'm leaving anything behind that's good for you, like your mind, right? Our mind behind, we got to bring our mind.
Right.
Those are great tips. People handle change differently. We all do.
Right.
Even though we know change is inevitable, change is all around us. And of course, we're living in the midst of change. I don't think anybody, unless they just woke up yesterday or this morning, knows that when we do come out of this, lots of things are going to be different. Lots of things will change. And so because we all handle change differently, some people better than others, but change brings about stress for some people. It brings about an anxiety for some people. And for some people, that anxiety may even lead to depression or a feeling of isolation or just negative, as I would say, energy, because they fear the change. They fear where they fit in the change, or if they even will fit in the change. How should we be handling this change? Well, better yet, the question is, first of all, how do we identify the symptoms in ourselves that we're not in this change very well, and in the persons that are around us? Especially like our children. We just think children, don't have a clue or maybe not know, but they know.
They do.
Things are different. They know things have change, and to not discuss it with them, I believe adds more harm than it does good. And then once we identify them, how do we help them cope with what they're...
So one of the things I will say is to really tackle, like you said, the symptoms. What am I feeling? And then so it could be change in appetite, worry, hard time sleeping, lack of motivation, not able to complete a task, not able to concentrate. And then to ask yourself, is this persistent? Is this keeping me from doing my job? Is it keeping me from being a mother to my child or my children? Because what I don't want people to think is, oh, just because I have a bad day, I'm depressed. Like I'm diagnosed with depression. Because no, we all have our off days.
All of them.
We all have off days. And so what I tell people is look at the situation. Is it just, my anniversary and I'm supposed to be in Hawaii and I'm just not happy about being here? Or is it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks away from my child's graduation? I'm just not in a good place. So give yourself some slack on that. But if you do realize, I'm not showering, I am not eating, I am crying every day, all day, I have not been able to cook dinner for my family in a week or two, then I think at that point it'd be time to probably reach out to a therapist, or social worker, somebody that's in the professional realm that can help you through what you're going through. But I think it's also being fair to yourself. With anxiety, we will feel overwhelmed. So sometimes, if you ask people, and even like teenagers, sometimes they'll say, I feel like an elephant's on my chest. Like I just have a hard time breathing, my thoughts are racing. And so I tell them the best thing for that, it seems very simple, but it's breathing. Get somewhere where it's very peaceful, where it's calm. And the little kids I work with, we use the hot cocoa analogy, but it's funny because my adults like it. Because they'll say, Miss Kellee, in the moment, I can't remember how I'm supposed to be breathing. So I tell them, just pretend you have a cup of hot cocoa in front of you. And most of us, when we get the hot cup, we want to smell it. So we breathe in, and then we want to cool it off because it's usually really hot. So then we blow out. So my kids love it, and even the adults are like, that's easy to remember when you're in your moment. So we just call it the hot cocoa breathing. So we'll do that. So I tell them, to do that, or to go for a walk, and to really say, what am I anxious about? Give it a name. What I was supposed to get this new job, or my job is going to lay me off. Like, give it a name so that you can deal with it. That's what I would definitely think when it comes to that, because I do think we're going to see that. And you brought up children, which I'm a firm believer. You will hear people say, children don't know. They don't know what's going on. They can, we don't. Yes, they do. As early as 2 or 3, I've seen children be able to pick up on their own anxieties and also what their parents are going through. So in our home, we talk to our daughter. We let her express that she's sad about not seeing her friends, or she misses her friends. So we do, like you said, how do we fix that? Is we can't take it away, but we can schedule FaceTime with friends. And if that means letting her talk one night, I think she talked for 2.5 hours. Now, what did they talk about? I have no idea, for 2.5 hours. But they did. And when she got off of that phone, it was just, you could see the happiness. You could just see, she's used to seeing these kids every single day. So I think just being really honest with yourself, and I tell parents, don't put fear into them. Don't put fear into them, but explain it in an age-appropriate manner, And I tell her, we're staying home because we want to help the world be better, and we don't want anyone to get sick, and we don't want us to get sick. So, and then kind of we can't go out, so what can we do in the house? So just kind of being as creative as but let them know, if you're sad, or if you want to call your friends, or if you need a movie night, just tell us. And they will, but they have to know that their feelings matter. Because I think 50 years ago, people, you hear different stories. When I talk to family, like, kids, they don't know what's going on. They don't know. They don't have feelings about that, or they don't care about that. But they actually do. You will see it in kids, maybe headaches. So I tell parents, look for, oh, mommy, I have a headache, when you never really saw that pattern before. Tummy aches. A lot of times when kids say they have a tummy ache, it's anxiety. It's something other than just a quote-unquote normal tummy ache, especially if it's more than one night. Maybe if it's more present, look at that. What could be going on? Do they notice a change? Is mom or dad stressed about bills? Is there, like you said, we're in the house with our spouses 24/7 right now. So are they overhearing things that may be discussed? So you have to be very observant of kind of what they're going through while trying to be mom. So those are tips I would say just on that.
So that's really good because no matter what happens to us, whether it's this pandemic, whether it's a bad day on your job, or your child has a bad day in school, or you have a bad day with your spouse, no matter where we may find ourselves and what circumstances, we've all heard the cliches. Now, what happens to you is how you respond.
Right.
What happens to you. And I have seen a lot of reacting. I'm like everybody else. I will never understand the toilet paper thing.
Right.
The idea that we have to hoard up and, just the things that people are doing are evident that people are reacting to this pandemic. They're reacting to the economy. They're reacting to their fears,
right.
What's going on and what's going to happen in the future. But how do we change that? Because I'm not a licensed professional counselor, but I know that reacting takes more out of me mentally than if I would take a few minutes, pause, and as you stated earlier, breathe. I would find myself responding instead of reacting, because now I have assessed the situation and come up with a resolve to respond and or handle and or act in the moment. Because I know reacting can be very toxic. It can be very damaging. If you're in a house right now with children and your nerves are all shot and they do one little thing and you react by screaming and hollering or saying something that you got to go and ask for forgiveness for, those kind of things. How do we move from reacting to responding during this time?
I think a lot of it has to do with what our thoughts. So I tell people to be very mindful, and myself, of my thoughts. Because the first thing, and we've probably heard this for years, but we don't really take the time to really think it through. But what you think, whatever that thought is going to lead to a feeling, and then that feeling is going to lead to an action. Right now. And so if that thought is false or it's extreme, then you're going to get an extreme action. So I tell people, if it's going to be negative, I challenge them. I said, okay, whatever that negative thought you just had, challenge that to write it something that's more logical, even if that means getting a journal and just writing it out, or saying it to a friend. I'm going to lose my job. Everybody else is losing their job. I'm not going to be able to afford my house. I'm going to, it just goes into a cycle. And then I'm like, okay, so has any of that happened? Well, no. Okay, so let's challenge that. How can you rethink that? I'm grateful now to have my job, and I'm going to focus on that and do the best I can. If things change, I will deal with it when that comes. Just something that's simple. Another thing I would say is limit social media. Be very careful of how much time you're spending on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, especially if it's different if it's funny videos and things like that make you laugh. But if it's a lot of, I call it, and I'm not even saying the real news, but a lot of the negativity of things, people arguing back and forth, and just fear factors. I tell people just kind of limit that. Even the news, I think, when this first happened, even myself, I caught myself watching the news all day. It kind of reminded me of like Harvey. When Harvey hit, for days, I remember me and my husband, my mom, and we would sit and watch for hours and hours. And then finally one day, probably like the third day, I was like, I feel so gloomy. I thought, well, yeah, because what can you do? you know. And so I remember thinking, I'm going to watch an hour, get the information I need to get, and then I'm going to try and find ways to help back, you know. And so, you know, for Harvey, it was ordering and bringing pizza to a shelter for kids is what we did right down the street from our house. For this, it's bringing groceries to someone who has kids and can't afford it, you know, knocking social distancing, of course, but, you know, knocking on the door, leaving it, getting in your car, okay, there's groceries on your doorstep. I think when we use compassion and the gifts that we were blessed with, it just makes us, for most of us, it makes us feel better. We can't fix everything. You know, I've had some people say, but I'm not, you know, a movie star. I'm not an actress. I don't have money like that. And I'm like, but do you have $10? Well, yeah, I have 10. Okay, well, that 10 could buy a loaf of bread, you know, meat, chips for somebody that can feed their family for a week. And so when we put it in that perspective, I think it's just finding little things to help. Get outside with your kids or with yourself, with your spouse. You know, take some time to just get out of the house. Everything is in this. I don't think it's been in this house so much, and I'm loving going outside now, which I never loved doing before, okay? But I do. I would definitely say that, and then I would probably say keep a schedule, whatever that may be. You know, if you're used to getting up 6:37, some people are like, okay, I'm 7:30. I get it. Okay, if you don't have kids to bring to school, we don't want to be at 6:30 possibly, but get up. You know, get dressed. You know, have time where you have lunch. Have time with your kids for their homework. Have some kind of schedule where you feel productive and not so overwhelmed. So those are some of the things I would definitely say to do. And even though, like you said, this is chaos for us, still find some fun in it. You know, just find some kind of fun. I think at this point we have to pause and kind of focus on what are the little things that we may have been taken for granted that we can really see what's important. You know, so those are the things I would definitely say right now that I've kind of been encouraging myself and other people to do.
I love the fact about and you said schedule, but the structure of it all. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes in chaos, in a pandemic crisis, we forget that the simple structure or our schedule of things helps take probably about 50% of the angst out. Mm-hmm. So, you know, having a schedule, you may have 4 or 5 more people in your house, more than you normally have. Right. Having a schedule with that. This is when we do this. This is when we do that. Because, you know, I can think about a mom right now who's screaming and hollering because there are dishes consistently in the sink, right? Mm-hmm. People are constantly going to get something to snack on. Right. And things like that. Something, you know, simple, but that can really bring a lot of angst and frustration. And some feelings like, you know, people taking advantage of me, you know, they expect me to do this and that. But having some structure, even with, I love that, you know, saying, look, the kitchen is open from 7 to 9, 12 to 1, and 5 to 7. Other than that, you go in, you are on your own, and you're responsible for everything you do, cleaning it up, washing it, and all of that. So, you know, that may sound like, oh my God, I can't. But yeah, you can. Like, really. Make people hope the other people that's household responsible. I love that when you said the structure, because we forget about that we can still have structure, that we can still have a schedule, even in the midst of a pandemic, right? I can still get up in the morning, normally do, fix my cup of coffee, brush my teeth, get dressed like I'm going to work, go sit in front of my computer, and still have my day, right? So I love that idea. Thank you for reminding us. Sometimes it really is the simple things. And so we want to find ourselves responding more in this time. Even our children, it helps our children when we respond versus react. And as you said, and again, they know that they can feel the angst. They know when we're not in our happy place. Right. So they're like, mom's not in her happy place. Something's wrong, right? And so we do not want to give them any more anxiety than need be. So I appreciate that. during this time too, in our mental, we call them mental stability because just like work-life balance, just like in relationships, there has to be a balance. In our mental EQ, mental IQ, whichever one you want to call it, we have to find the balance. Mm-hmm. We have to find a balance between the lows and the highs. Because during pandemics, which we've never experienced before, but even after this, using some techniques when you are faced with a crisis or when there is chaos or you find yourself in the midst of chaos, learning how to have that mental balance, not to go so low that it's hard to get back up, and even when you go high, finding some. And I say that because I have even found myself yo-yoing in my emotions during this pandemic. There are some days when I feel great. I've gone taking my walk and I come back and I'm just like, hey, let's go. And my day goes very well. And then there's some days I go and I do my walk and I come back and I just have this sense of sadness.
Right.
Where I'm thinking about people maybe that I've lost, and I'm thinking about people who have lost loved ones, and I'm thinking about calls that I've had of people praying and wanting prayer for persons who are in the hospitals that are not doing well, or persons that they've lost. So all this grief and despair that is being felt by everybody, not just me, not just you. So my emotions are just yo-yoing up and down. First of all, is that normal? Because oh God, I feel like I'm on the couch, right?
Yes, it's normal.
So is it normal? And then how do we bring some sense of balance to that? Give us some tips for balancing those yo-yo days.
Well, first of all, it is normal, okay? Because it was not, then I'm in trouble. Okay? So I think we're gonna all have those days, because like you said, we have never experienced anything like this. This is new to all of us. So we're trying to maneuver the best that we can. And you're right, I think there's certain days where we're like, man, I'm doing a great job. I got this. And then there's the next day where I'm overwhelmed. Like you said, we have so much time now in the home where there may be that person we would want to pick up the phone and call, and we realize we can't talk to them. Or it could be, even for some families, it's financial things, so you're going to feel sad some days, happy, hopeless, exhausted. I've seen some people have said, I'm just exhausted by the end of the day. And I didn't do anything physically. And I'm like, well, it's mental exhaustion. That's real also. So I think it's, first of all, validating, what is it that I'm feeling? And being okay with that feeling. And then how do I just make sure tomorrow's better? Because I think we've talked about this in the past, that sometimes when you think of mental health, well, I'm not crazy. I don't need to talk to anyone. I'm not crazy. It has nothing to do with crazy. I tell people all the time, it's just we all have different things we're going through. So it could be a girlfriend we call and just simply say, I am overwhelmed today. The kids have gotten under my skin. I have all these deadlines. I've been in this house with my husband, whatever it may be. I think it's just to know that this is normal. And I think when people start realizing I'm not crazy, this is what people go through, that they'll give themselves a little bit more credit. So I definitely would say validate it. And then for the next day, it's okay, what is this thing that is making me yo-yo? And it may be, like you said, it may be completely better the next day. So for people, if it's overwhelmed, I'm so overwhelmed with my kids' homework, I feel like I can't get mine done, which I totally felt the first week. 6 to 8 hours a day with my daughter's homework and working full time was so overwhelming. So we had to really sit as a family and say, okay, how are we going to break this down? And then have a plan, have some kind of structure for the following week. And then realizing also that if I'm overwhelmed and stressed, she's going to feel overwhelmed and stressed. So I think just one, like I said, validate it. And then two, figure out, okay, how can I overcome whatever this may be? And then some days, you know what, Hilda, it's just going to bed and getting some rest. Just saying, whatever this is, I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to go to bed, and tomorrow's a new day. Wow. And I know for me, that works a lot of the times. I just start fresh the next day instead of beating myself up over what I may not have gotten accomplished that day.
Oh, wow. So I like what you just said about it's okay. It's okay, number one, to have an imbalance. I think sometimes we really, really beat up, especially as women. We beat our up when we cannot handle certain situations. Mm-hmm. We just feel like we're supposed to be able to juggle them all. And one should fall. Oh my God. That's detriment to us. But we have to understand that first and foremost, before we became mothers, before we became wives, before we became anything, we were human beings.
Right.
And so as human beings, we have been giving systems that work just like everybody else. And it's okay when our systems are off a little, whether it's our mental system, whether it's our emotional system, and whether it's our physical system. It's not that it's off. It's just knowing how to get it back into balance.
And another thing, just for the people that are going to watch this, is what I've been seeing a lot too is comparison.
That's good.
We don't need, whatever you feel is your feelings, and you have the right to it. You hear a lot of people say, well, what is so-and-so complaining about? She still has a job. Or what is so-and-so complaining about? It's just a high school graduation. It's not that big deal. He'll still get his diploma. And what I tell people is don't take that away from other people. You don't have the right to tell them that their feelings are not valid. Because for a lot of kids, they are grieving. I have seniors that I work with, and you don't know what someone had to go through to get where they are to just graduate high school. And you don't know the struggle that some of these parents had to go through. So grief, I've been seeing a lot of where I can't imagine my child was supposed to graduate from high school and that's taken. I just can't even imagine that. People that know me know I'm a planner, so that probably would have been planned for about a year. Okay, so, I think those parents and those kids have a right to feel sad. They have a right to grieve this, and we can't take that. And so many other things, weddings right now. I know someone who's lost their daughter recently, and they cannot even have a funeral. Can't even imagine burying my 30-year-old and not being able to do it the way that I would want to send her away. So I think just realizing that everybody right now is doing the best that they can, and that they all have different things that are not their norm. Jobs and finances and children and whatever it may be, just acknowledge. And I think for a lot of this is just to be kind. I think that goes a long way. There's a lot of uneasiness, and sometimes that doesn't bring out the best in us, when we're agitated, angry, fearful, anxious. So I think just taking a step back. And when you see things like that, instead of just saying, oh, this is stupid or it's irrelevant, maybe just saying, what could I say to somebody to help them? When you posted this, even I guess yesterday as a reminder, I actually had somebody email or private message me because she saw the post that you said we were going to be doing this today, and just simply asked a question and just wanted some guidance. And sometimes I think people just need that. And I think, for me, it wasn't, oh, what is this person? It was, I'm happy she had a safe place that she could reach out. So I think that sometimes the best thing we can do is just, yes, take care of ourselves, but also remember that the best way to get through a lot of this is kind of by just an olive branch to other people. Just be kind.
That's good. Even as a minister myself, as a coach, sometimes we forget, because I had to, when you and I were discussing during this, to do this conversation, in some of our dialogue to see what we were going to talk about, I was reminded, sometimes in situations like this, we want people to react the way we react.
Right.
I'm not reacting that way. Why are you reacting that way? Or I wouldn't react that way.
Right.
Why are you reacting that way. And I love it when you said we don't have the right to take someone's feeling away from them. We don't have the right to void that feeling out or to discredit that feeling. And I know very well, because I tell people what you feel is real.
Right.
And I need you to, I need you to feel it, because that's the only way you're going to get through it, right? So we have to be very careful of what we're saying and how we're responding to people, especially when people are trusting you to in their vulnerability.
And sharing it with you.
That's it. Especially if your girlfriend or someone calls you and they're trusting you with their vulnerability, and you tell them, well, I don't understand why you feel that way. You should be glad. That's really discrediting the trust right there.
Right.
I have a safe place to be able to say what I need to say, and without judgment, because
right.
we're all feeling something right now. We're all going through a mental exercise right now. And so going back to what you're saying of just being kind, sometimes we just need to be kind. Don't share what you're thinking. Don't share what you're feeling.
Right.
Just kind and compassionate.
Compassionate, right?
With the next person. I'll just go ahead and say, especially with African, we have this thing about, or we were taught what happens in this house stays, right? and have grown up thinking that talking to other people about issues and feelings, and especially struggles, and being overwhelmed was just not what you do, right? So speak to those who are watching this right now and listening to this, who are feeling something, and they know they are, but who are afraid to communicate those struggles, who are afraid to let someone know that they're feeling this way, because as far as their families are concerned or their friends are concerned, they're good. They can handle it all. They're the most strong woman. They know. When you have people tell you, you're the strongest woman I know. You always handle things correctly. And I like to say, man, if they only knew, right? When I pull my pillow up to my face and I want to scream, but I don't want nobody to hear my scream and things. So for all those women who are silently crying within, who are putting the pillow up to their face and screaming because they don't want anyone to hear their scream, or running to the bathroom only to have a moment where they just feel overwhelmed. What do you say to those women right now?
Well, first of all, I would probably say I believe that every person should have one person in their life that they can talk to that will not be judgmental. So if you can really look at your pool and say, I really don't have that, but I am going through something, I would encourage those women to reach out to a therapist, a social worker, even if it's their pastor, someone who can listen that is neutral, where you don't want all the opinions, because just because your Aunt Sally did it this way 30 years ago doesn't mean that she did it the right way or the healthy way, okay? So a lot of times I will hear it, like you said, women, we think, and you will hear that, oh, you're so strong. Nothing gets you down. You don't know what's going on with somebody behind closed doors. So it's not a sign of weakness at all. There's not a sign of people being crazy at all. It's just for help. It's just for you to be able to vent how you feel to someone, and kind of like you said, for that person to be able to say, oh, that's normal. Mm-hmm. Because I think we put too much pressure on ourselves.
Yes.
Way too much pressure. So I feel really weak. That I've lost my, child, and I'm not over this. And it's been a year. And I thought, how does that correlate to being weak? We don't have a time on grief. There's nothing. You got out of bed today. You put one foot in front of the other, and you're here. That is strength. But I don't think we give ourselves credit based on what other people tell us strength is. So I think you have to be really careful with that. And you have to take care of you. This is what I tell people all the time. Everyone who's making these judgments, if you go down mentally, because you can be very healthy physically and financially and all of these other things, as we see a lot of times with celebrities, and you will see things like, why did he committed suicide or she committed suicide, or they had, but they had everything in their life without the mental stability. They were having their own issues, and people thought because everything looked great on the outside that they were fine on the inside. So I tell people, don't worry about other people. I mean, when it comes to that, you honestly have to take care. I know for myself, if I fall, then the people that love me the most are going to suffer. So that means self-care. If that means going to therapy, if that means whatever you need to do, then that's what you need to do for you. I jokingly tell my clients, who knows that you come here anyway? If you're on medication, who knows that you're on medication unless you choose to tell them? That's what we call personal business. You don't have to tell everybody your business, but you do need to do what you need to do to take care of yourself mentally.
Wow, that's great information. But so now I've watched this, and you have shared, oh my God, a wealth of knowledge on how-tos, do's and don'ts, and tidbits for mental stability. But I have more questions, and I want the opportunity to be able to do like the young woman did on yesterday and reached out to you and asked a question. First of all, how can they get in touch with you? And can you share maybe some other resources, readings, even if it's book, even if it's podcast, whatever information that can help us continue our resilience through this pandemic and even after the pandemic. Just some resources that are made available to us to help us with our mental stability.
Yeah, if anybody's watching and you have questions after that, that may pop up in a few days, or just feel free to email me at Kellee, so it's Kellee, Landry, Landry, at PNLcounseling.com. So again, it's Kellee Landry at PNLcounseling.com. And as for resources, I tell people, when you are Googling, like sometimes people say, well, I'm, having some depressive symptoms, or I'm having some anxiety, but I'm not sure if this is what it is. NAMI is a lot of sites that I will go to that has, so it's NAMI.org. They will have a lot of different symptoms between depression, anxiety, bipolar, and then a lot of times they'll give resources. But if you're, want just more specific, if you reach out to me, then I'll do my best to help relate you to something maybe in the area, or even with referrals to other therapists that I may have worked with in the past. So just feel free to email me. It's confidential. This won't be discussed on here at all. And I'll just do my best to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I know we have a few people watching, so I will give a minute for a question. Anybody who is watching, if you would type your question in the comments section. And while we're waiting for, I just want to thank Kellee Landry, again, licensed professional counselor, owner of PNL Counseling Group, for joining us today, because mental stability is imperative right now. Owning the fact that we need to care for our mental stability now is very important. It's what's going to help us go out, get out of this, but it's also going to help us get out of this better. I want to say, do not lose your mind in this. You cannot leave your mind back in the pandemic when we come out of here. We want all of us to get out of here healthy and viable and ready for what's next. And we know this is a change for everybody. This is a change, but there are resources to help you navigate the change. This is why we're doing this community of care series, because we want to bring the resource to you right in the comfort of your own home. We had great feedback from our first topic, Homeschooling 101. If you have not viewed that, you can go on our Facebook page. It's on our Facebook page at Lou Wish Homeschooling 101. And today's topic, mental stability. Don't lose your mind. It will be also on our Facebook page as well if you want to go back and look at it, because Instagram only keeps it for 24 hours. Our next topic for next week is Know Your Rights. We will have Judge Elaine Palmer, who will come on with us and help us navigate through our rights during this pandemic. If you are having any employer issues or unemployment or legal issues during this pandemic and you have questions, we ask you to join us next Wednesday at 1 o'clock right here on Instagram Live. We will be discussing and asking Judge Palmer how to help us with knowing our rights. Let's see if we've had any questions come through, Kim. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kellee, for joining us today. If you'd like to know more about Blue Wish, please go to our website at www.bluewish.org. And that's LUEWISH.org. We are on all the social media platforms, Facebook at Blue Wish, Instagram and Twitter at Blue Wish Her Story. We're so glad that you joined us today, but most importantly, we hope that this session on mental stability, Don't Lose Your Mind, gave you some tidbits for having mental balance during this time. Look, we're going to do this all together, and we're all going to come out of this all together. We are here for you. We want to be a community of care for you, a resource for you to help you get out of this. Hey, and if you have any topics or you have some things that are going on that you'd like for us to discuss during one of our conversations, please either direct message us on Facebook or send us a message on Instagram, or you can go contact via email at contact@bluewish.org. Again, that's contact@bluewish.org. We're here for you because we want to inspire you to keep moving in spite of. Thank you so much again for joining our show today. And thank you, Kellee, once again,
for having me.
With your expertise. We're so glad. You all go and have a great rest of the day. And again, for those who watched the first time, we apologize again. But because we're in an organization of excellence, we decided to do this again because we wanted to make sure that you would have the information you need and you could properly hear the information that was being communicated. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you all back here again next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Bye.